Marina Fano, welcome to Gardening on the Kaipara. It's June and I've been doing this vlog now for 6 months. It's been a real pleasure doing it, lots of learning, but also really good to be able to look back and see how the garden's changed over the seasons, which was one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this. It's amazing to think back now to high summer and all the business of that time. As you can see now, it's pretty beautiful today, but we've had some rough days over the last wee while. It's been cold, relatively. Not a frost, but definitely having the heating on a little bit. June, traditionally here, a time for getting on with those jobs that kind of put off the rest of the time, mainly because theoretically there's not so much to do in the garden in terms of growing, and we'll come to that in a bit. So jobs that we've got on the list for the next few months here, one is that we're getting a polytunnel, and that should be going up. I want to get that up pretty soon because I want to start getting some seeds in. Kind of thinking that I should be getting peppers and tomatoes getting going now. And also we're thinking about getting a shed. Not quite sure when that's going to arrive or when we're going to order it and what it's going to look like, but that's still on the plans. We've also got another little thing which I'll pop on as a surprise, so hold on for that one, but it's really cool. Also, it's a time for planning. It's perhaps a little early to be thinking about Christmas, but in terms of growing, if you want to have fresh veg on the table for Christmas, then you actually need to start thinking about that a long time in advance. And for those of you that have been watching the vlog at all, you will know that's not really my strong point when it comes to gardening. So what I've done is I've actually been through my seeds and my shopping list, if you will, for what I want to be growing so that I can pick them ready for Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, we tend to have salads and things like that, and on Christmas Day we do the full turkey and veggies, which is a bit of a challenge when it comes to growing because you've got the completely different kinds of veggies that you grow in, the summer veg and the winter veg, and you want them all ready at the same time. So I've been through and I've made a list of all of the things that I think I'm going to be needing, and my goal is to try and have everything on the table grown here. So going off my plan here, what I've done, I've got lettuce here, last planting date as the 30th of October. Cucumbers, I had reasonable success with the cucumbers last year, not brilliant, and I think some of that's a learning process about making sure I'm picking them earlier and making sure I'm picking all of them. But I've got here the last planting date is the 16th of October. Now potatoes I've got as 18th of September for the last date to be putting them out. So beetroot I've got the 2nd of October. I've got one line of beetroot going at the moment, which are still young. I'll probably put another lot out into a bed in the next week or so. Spinach I've never grown before, but I've got 16th of October here for the last planting out. My understanding of that's pretty quick growing. Parsnip I've already got in the ground, but it says here 7th of August as the last planting date. Carrots, I've got a lot of carrot growing at the moment, but my concern is that it's not going to be enough to see us through till then, that we might have actually picked it and used it all before Christmas. I did see an interesting YouTube where it was suggesting planting carrot in front of the tomatoes. So I would have 2 rows of tomatoes and then you'd plant a row of carrots in front of those right along. And I quite like that idea. So that might be a way of just boosting the carrot supplies. Peas, I've got 2 lots of peas going at the moment, and from the last video you would have seen that they're going absolutely amazing. My concern is that it's going to get hot and they'll be well over before then. I'm thinking I'll put another set in with the idea of if it's getting late in the year and it's too hot for them, then I can freeze them, and so at least I've got them in the freezer ready for Christmas. Broccoli's going great at the moment. You can get all year round broccoli. Got a last date of 16th of October for them. Basil, I've got some basil seedling coming up now, which I'm going to put into the kitchen. And 30th of October, I've got as last day to start off the basil. One of the things I've got here is pepper. I've got here a date of 2nd of October. I don't know quite how that fits in, given my experience so far, which has been hopeless. But I'm definitely going to be starting them off now. And the last thing I've got is courgettes. Last date 16th of October. But I'm thinking I will probably start some off earlier than the 16th of October and try and have them going from probably mid-spring if I can, with some follow-up ones going in later. But my goal is that, and so we'll see how we get on and the progress of that over the next 6 months. So without further ado, let's take you into the garden and the first of those building jobs. Hope you enjoy this. It's good fun. See you. Okay, so here we have the first big job of the winter, and what you can see me doing here is starting the chicken run. This is one that we bought off Trade Me. I think it was about 300 and something bucks, although the delivery price was actually quite expensive to get it up here into Northland. The size of this is 3 meters by 4 meters. We've wanted chickens for a while. The day before I actually built the coop itself, and you'll see that a bit later on. I didn't film that just because it was a bit more difficult doing it in the lounge because the weather was awful. We've had chickens in the past, many years ago, and really enjoyed having them, although they were a bit too free range. And what I mean by that was that they weren't really fenced in. And I came home one day to find that they'd come through the cat flap and were all perched on the Welsh dresser and had pooped everywhere. So yeah, that wasn't the best experience of them. But as a general rule, really like having chickens around, and especially with eggs now at nearly $1 each for free range ones. Really wanted to go down this track. We decided to go for this particular size because we're a little bit concerned about bird flu. Watching the YouTubers from Britain, when the bird flu hits, then they all have to go into lockdown for the birds, and we wanted to have them be able to have at least a decent amount of space if we ever get to that unfortunate circumstance. The coop itself was quite expensive, but again, what we thought about was the price of the eggs now, and when you think that we'd be getting about $40 worth of eggs each week, we figured that going for a longer term investment into a decent coop that's easy to clean and is going to last a long time was probably more worthwhile than going for one of the very cheap options that look cute but actually aren't very practical. When putting this chicken coop together, you can see that it all kind of clips together pretty easily. I think probably the most difficult part of it was putting the chicken wire on, just to get it looking really nice and taut and secure so that nothing could get in and nothing could get out. I was a little bit paranoid about Ninja Cat getting in there and causing difficulties, so wanted to make sure that it was all really secure. I think probably the things that, now that it's been up for a while, to come out from it in terms of the build is that it comes with a tarp, which is really good for shading. You'll see in the background here the clouds are gathering, and we actually had quite a big storm come through this first night, and by the next morning the tarp was pretty wrecked, particularly around the eyelets and stuff. So the way that it's secured isn't really very practical, and what I've actually done is put a whole load of rope around the top of it so it acts less like a sail. There certainly wasn't enough cable ties with it to make sure that the chicken wire itself was nice and taut and clear. And the skewers that come with it, you can see that bottom of the each of the poles, there's like a little circle plate that you put the skewers through. The skewers themselves are really thin. You can just see me looking in the box at them there. And what happens is that they didn't actually give much in the way of grip into the ground. So what I actually did was go to Bunnings, get a whole load more cable ties and get much thicker skewers that still fitted through the holes and went down much deeper into the ground, and they actually are perfect. So if you ever get one of these runs, I'd absolutely recommend getting one of those. The door catch, probably not that great. Probably look at some way of making that a bit better going forward. One of the things that I was interested in with this particular run was I actually thought that it would also make a really good fruit cage. So I was quite interested to see how it all went together, to see whether it would act as a really good fruit cage, and I think it would. This particular one here is 3 meters by 4 meters, which I think is a good size, but you can also get them 3 by 5 and up to 6 and 10 meters. And I think that they would do really well for those. So definitely watch this space in terms of whether I might get another one put up there on the veggie patch. Overall though, the whole coop is working really well. We're really happy with it, and the chickens seem to be really happy with it. Okay, so here we are, end of June. We've just had the shortest day of the year, Matariki, and we're here on an absolutely beautiful midwinter's day. So sunny and beautiful. So time for the plot tour, and starting off as usual at the top. Strawberry beds. I've had to put wire all over these at the moment because Ninja Kitten keeps digging them up, but probably it's a good reminder to get the actual proper netting onto them. The original bed here, doing really well, everything's taken really well, and all the strawberries are starting to put on new growth, which is really cool. This side we've had a couple of fails. I think we've got 4 that didn't take. I noticed strawberry plants are on special at the moment, down to $3 a plant, so I'll probably just fill them up with a couple of different varieties, just so I've got a good variety of strawberries in that might produce at different times of the summer. This one keeps producing flowers. I'm taking them off at the moment because I'm trying to get them to put on growth rather than start producing already. And we come over to here, the asparagus bed. Rather bizarrely, it's been throwing up some new asparagus. Don't know why that is. I would have thought it was way too early for it.
But there you go. Obviously this is only their second year in, so not doing anything with that, just keeping a watchful eye and wondering why it's done that. You see it's actually sent up a couple of shoots on that one. So yeah, quite bizarre. The others don't seem to be coming through. Moving down to the prides and joys at the moment, the pea beds. This is the second lot I planted, which are absolutely covered in pea pods. I don't know if you can quite see how many there is on there, but there's so many, all fattening up nicely. We've got a row of beetroot that never came up. Looks like there's a couple of zinnias coming up there, I think. And a row of carrots in the front. I thinned slightly. Don't know how many I'm going to get out of that. Turning around. Apologies, this bed really needs weeding. So going in here, carrots really coming on well. Lettuce have been an absolute sensation. And then over here we've got parsnip. I had a little, I think the expression is a little fizzle under the ground there, and they seem to be putting on roots. My concern of them is actually they're going to be way before Christmas. So I'm not quite sure how and when they'll be ready. I was looking at the seed packet again yesterday, and it said that they're 20 weeks to maturity, which puts them a little ahead of Christmas. So I don't know, we'll see. The far pea bed, these were actually put in earlier. They're a different variant, and these are obviously getting much taller. Don't seem to have as many pea pods on at the moment, but they seem to have more flowers on. And then a row of beetroot in front of them, which is doing quite well. And then these were the just in case leeks that are doing really well. Very pleased with them. You can see all of the volunteer marigolds that I rescued and popped out are all coming to flower now, which is amazing. This is so colourful here considering we're in midwinter. I can't quite get my head around that. Really very beautiful. So moving down to the onion bed. Not had a look under here for a while or done any weeding, but overall I think they're looking pretty fantastic. Really happy with how this is all looking. My chives doing well. I might extend them a bit. I noticed I've got some volunteer ones in the other bed that I might just put into a line down the other end of this bed. Got leeks down the end there, and then onions on this side. The onions already look huge. These look way bigger than what I had at in summer of last year, so very hopeful for a good crop. Moving on to the garlic bed, again, lots of nice flowers, and sweet peas really going really well. Really interested to know if and when I'm going to get the flowers on these. So used to having sweet peas in the house in summer, but I'm kind of thinking it's going to be early spring, which would be really nice. We get the garlic coming on nicely. Looking a bit yellow on the leaves there. I might have to give this bed a feed, I think. Again, these marigolds are all, you can see there's so many buds on them now. They're just going to be a picture. To the big bed. Done a bit of work on this over the last wee while. So the bok choy through the net there, you can see, doing really well. We've got a volunteer tomato there, I'm holding on to, and some chard, which just popped in. Over around this side we have the bull beans that are just beginning If you can see here, they're just beginning to come in, and there. And then what's left of the beetroot. Over here we've got the coriander, which is really beginning to come in now, and parsley that's beginning to come in. It's supposed to be 2 rows. The second row is patchy, so what I might do is I might transplant them all into the 1 row and then put a row of something in the middle of those. Got a volunteer tomato there. So here at the brassica bed, you can see they're doing really well. I've put in a second sowing now down there. A bit difficult to see them, but I don't know if you can see through here. Look at that. First broccoli head showing. Amazing. Looking forward to that. Dahlias are beginning to put some shoots out. This obviously needs weeding. And then this is what I planted up the other day, trying to make it ninja proof, and clearly failed because there's something that's been in there. I think we can see the paw prints. Okay, so I shifted all of the potatoes and pots up here for the time being and cleared the space where they were so that we can get some machinery down. And theoretically, here, just above my shadow, there is where the shed's going to go, which we should be expecting in the next wee while, I guess. But you can see potatoes doing really well. Rhubarb, need to get that in the ground because I think we could probably get pickings off that in a few weeks if I can get onto that. But yeah, potatoes seem to be doing pretty good. And I saw the other day that one of these Agria ones had the first signs of a shoot. Let's see if I can find it. There. In there. Huh. No sign on the others yet, but at least the sign on one. We'll just take a look this way, because this is the last time this is going to look like this. Because, don't know if you can see on the ground down there, is the polytunnel, which has now been delivered, and it's going to go right there. So that's exciting. So here we are at the bed at the front of the house. So yeah, the lavender and the roses have now been pruned, and freesias continue to put on some good growth. Looking much tidier there now. I'm just trying to think what I'm going to put at the back of this bed here now. I want something that's kind of flowers with pinks and light blues, really, kind of in that colour palette, and a bit taller than the lavender is going to get. But yeah, it forms like a background to the lavender for the summer, and I want something that kind of flowers all summer through. Most obvious thing is cosmos. It's just a bit, yeah, it can get a bit unruly. So just wondering about that at the moment. Okay, let's go down to the orchard and the chickens. And here we have the lovely chickens. What we've done is we have got a fence so that they can get a bit of a run. The idea theoretically will be that we can get a fence all around all the fruit trees so that they can be pecking off the bugs and keeping on top of them, hopefully. That's the plan. Our friend Phil does that, and seems to work well for him, so we're going to be trying to emulate him. The chickens themselves have been in now for 2 weeks, settling in really nicely, really happy with how they are, and they should start laying probably towards the end of July, so that might well be in the next update. So there we go, Fano. That's the end of the plot tour for June. I'll see you again in July. Until then, harera, keep safe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for joining us. Bye bye.